Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Evening Review. Let's take a look at today's front page. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Evening Review. My name is Sokhona Tlhache, and joining me in studio is Mr. Penda Ithindi, the Economic Advisor in the Technical Advisor in the Ministry of Finance. Welcome, Mr. Ithindi, to the Evening Review.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Mr. Ithindi, since the start of COVID, government introduced an economic stimulus package sort of to assist the slowdown in the economy. And as part of the stimulus package, there was an emergency income grant. How many people has this grant? How many people have you been able to pay?
Right. Thank you very much for the question. This is important, actually, and the ministry appreciates this opportunity to give information to the public and to the applicants of the emergency income grant. Since this program started on the 10th of April, with the deadline of the 30th of April in terms of the applications. So by the 30th of April, we had received about 970,000 applications. That is against the target we estimated to be around 739,000. So we have received quite a good number of the applications. So out of the 970,000 applications which we have received, we have processed and approved 576,000 applications. That is around 60% of the total application numbers that we have received. So looking at that, really, so we are talking over 500,000 Namibians which have become recipients of the grant. The total cost to date of the payments that have been distributed is around 432,000, noting that it's 750 to pay the applicant. So we believe that it's a fairly good processing rate. We have processed the applications as they come in, but of course a number of implementation and administrative issues crop up, and that's why we have not been able then to hit the 100% processing rate of the applications.
Okay. And then there have been problems with people saying that some of them applied, they had tax numbers but have not been part of the formal economy for some time, and other people that were in the informal sector but still did not get their grants. Can you take us through the vetting process that the ministry applied in dispersing these funds, sort of to verify who really qualifies and who doesn't?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I think it's an important question because this is also important for the applicants to understand the process which the ministry and the government in particular has followed in narrowing it down to the beneficiaries, to the target beneficiaries. First, it's important to mention that, of course, this grant is targeted to, one, people that are self-employed or employed in the informal sector of the economy. So not the formal part of the economy. And that is an important criteria which I can touch on, then how do we filter that? Secondly, the grant is targeted to people that are unemployed. In terms of the age range, of course, as we all know, the grant targets persons aged 18 to 59 years, inclusive. So Namibians 18 years old that are unemployed or self-employed in the informal sector of the economy are the target group. Namibians who are unemployed in that age bracket are the target group. So basically then what happens is that once we receive the applications, and the applications, as we know, they are on the basis of self-nomination. People look at the criteria, and if they believe that they qualify for the grant, they apply through the online SMS message or USSD lines that we have, thanks to the support from MTC and from MobiPay, Namibia. So basically, this is how it runs. Because people are nominating, self-nominating themselves, we have to make sure that we put up criteria which leads us to ensure that the grant is targeted and to reach the intended beneficiary. So the first thing, when it comes to the age of the person, so the first thing that allows us to make sure that we disburse to beneficiaries that are within 18 to 59 years old, we make sure that we have records, population register records. Thanks to the cooperation with the Ministry of Home Affairs, we have been then able to say that given the identity numbers of person, right? So we are able to run or to infer the age of the person. And therefore, those that fall below 18 years old or above 59 years old, we are able to run the exclusion part of it, right? So the second important part is also then to make sure that we are targeting the informal part of the economy and not the formal part of the economy. How do we do that? We look at the tax registration. That's one, and that's where your question is. So we look at the activeness of the tax number or the tax register of that individual, right? So that would enable us to see whether the person is in formal employment and therefore regularly pays tax. So when you have flows of tax paid to the receiver, that shows that that person is employed somewhere, right? So what we have also done in relation to that is we noticed that, of course, there are the way the tax register runs and the way it's administered is that if you get a tax number, it remains with you for your entire working life, right? So whether you lose a job in between or so, the tax number is associated with you. A tax number is an equivalent of an ID number. It's a unique number. It's assigned to that person. So what we have then done is that because the tax number, registry number, leads to a person who have been employed some time back, but maybe has lost a job now, but the tax number is still active, we have then decided and entered into cooperation with the Social Security Commission. By the way, this program is actually implemented in conjunction with the Social Security Commission. We can talk about it a little bit if you like. So the essence then is that beyond the tax number, we have also then cooperated with the Social Security Commission and to check that if a person is actively registered with the Social Security Commission, that to us is a confirmation that the person is in formal employment, or if it's in the informal part of the economy, still a registered and a contributing member to Social Security. And for that reason, then we have been able to exclude persons that are in the formal sector of the economy and only relate ourselves to the informal parts of the economy. That we have experienced some delays with it, but I'm glad to announce to the applicants and to the public that we have now completed that data reconciliation between tax registry and Social Security registry, and we have freed up a number of people that have been put on hold, or applications that were put on hold because of the tax rejections issues. So starting today and through the weekend, those applicants who are successful and who pass the test, the strict test of registry with Social Security, would be receiving their grants as we speak and over the weekend. But of course, there will be those that are truly formally employed in the formal sector of the economy. They will stand rejected. But I should interject there to say that for the purpose of the grant and the cooperation with the Social Security Commission, A person is either, if a person's income is reduced because of the COVID-19, we are basically saying that the unemployed and the informal sector employed or self-employed, they would be supported by the emergency income grant. Those that are in the formal sector of the economy, if their wages are reduced because how the economy and the employers are adjusting to the impact of COVID-19, these people in the formal sector of the economy, they are duly registered with the Social Security Commission. They are in good standing, and therefore, if they can prove to the Social Security Commission that they have suffered reduction in income, then they would be supported through the Social Security Commission. So no one really is left out. It's only that the process of dealing with data and reconciling took a little bit longer, but we are happy that we have overcome that hurdle.
Okay. And then obviously now moving over to the formal sector of the economy, we have, as you've indicated, there are businesses that have taken hit as a consequence of COVID-19. But the Social Security Commission now vaguely touches on 3 sectors, and that would be aviation, tourism, and construction. What measures are there for other businesses that do not fall within that scope? That have suffered?
Okay, right. Yeah, so it's a question of priority, because resources are not unlimited. So this is the first wave of the impact of COVID-19. So the purpose of the first phase of the economic stimulus package was really to look at which businesses, which sectors of the economy are directly hit by COVID-19. So sectors are not hit at the same level. Of course, through linkages, you would notice that everybody else is affected, but not to the same extent.
Yes.
So in the first rollout of the stimulus package, we tried to focus and limit this to these broader sectors because they are directly hit by the first round of shocks. Within the package, though, we notice that there are businesses and individuals, by the way, that may need credit, that they may need some kind of support to be able to overcome the impact through interrelatedness and so on. So as part of the package, by the way, the package is a 10-point package. So there are a number of elements that are in the package, with the health sector, the wage subsidy, water subsidy, all that. But within the stimulus package, there is what we call the tax-back loan scheme. This is for businesses, this is for individuals. It's basically, and it's guaranteed by the government. It basically says that any business could apply for a loan to commercial banking entities on the back of the government guarantee, and it's a loan that is a bit more relatively cheaper compared to your conventional loan. It has a better repayment holiday. It enables businesses to access credit and therefore be able to finance some of their operations, or to be able to support the operations. This is how we reach out to the general part of the economy. But you also notice that there are designated or targeted interventions through the Development Bank of Namibia, through Agribank as well, that Agribank is able to take up also from the market government guaranteed loan up to 350 DBN, 500 million, just $500 million. This would enable to promote private sector operations.
Okay. And now for businesses and individuals that have not been tax compliant and have not been paying up or registering or filing with the receiver of revenue as they should have,
yes,
will they be able to benefit from the stimulus package?
Yes, they will. We have said that, this is extraordinary times. We take it that the businesses that probably have fallen behind with their tax obligations is because of the hardships which they experience. So we have not put it up front that being on time with tax obligations and could be a deterrent for accessing this. So we have relaxed the condition, but it does not mean that it has gone away. We are just saying that even for businesses that are going to be supported through our cooperation with Social Security Commission, whether it's support, wage subsidy support to employers, or direct cash support to employees in the formal sector who can prove that their income is reduced due to COVID-19. So we have not put up front the tax obligation which has fallen behind as a precondition to access, but it does not mean that it has gone away. We still expect that as businesses actually access and receive this support from the state, there has to be reciprocity. And therefore, we would require that in terms of the conditions and the terms of taking up this, there is also a commitment to keep up with tax obligations to the extent possible.
Okay. On tax issues, the ministry recently said that there was tax outstanding to businesses that it had to pay back to, and I think that was particularly for construction. How far has the Ministry of Finance gone in paying back those taxes to sort of assist construction companies?
Yes. Yeah. No, we have accelerated that program. As you notice that at the time of launching of the stimulus package, the minister has indicated that there was about 3 billion in outstanding VAT refunds to businesses. We have gone to the extent of by now to have halved that number in terms of disbursement, in terms of paying because that's not government money, it's refunds that's due. So we have accelerated the repayment. We have paid to date over half of that amount. We have also looked at the invoices, the outstanding invoices for services provided by the private sector to the government, and we have also accelerated that program. Of course, we are not yet fully out of it, but we had committed that by now we should be dealing with smaller amounts that needs to be addressed. So we have, by and large, 2/3 of what is owed, whether in terms of VAT refunds or whether in terms of outstanding invoices for services provided, we have honored that obligation.
Okay. Have you undertaken a study to sort of assess how much of an impact COVID-19 would have on tax revenue collection?
Yes, we have. We have looked at the overall impact of the economy. This is actually the big issue. Okay, so one aspect of COVID-19, of course, we know is in the health sector, and how would we support the health sector for us as a country to be able to contain the spread and suppress the spread of COVID-19. The second big component is how do we address the needs of the economy? How do we support the economy? Because this relationship is always, it's an interesting aspect which needs to be managed policy-wise. The more you put more emphasis on the health sector, the more pain that you have on the economy and vice versa. And the policy of the government is really to make sure that we balance these two elements of it. So we have looked at the economy, and what we see is that what we projected as growth of the economy this year, because all elements, without COVID, all elements to concede that we are emerging out of the contraction of the last year and getting into positive economic growth territory were there, but have been dissipated by COVID-19. So we anticipate that we are going into a contraction of the economy in the order of 6 to 7% or so. When the general economic output contracts, and by the way, this is not only in Namibia, of course, as we know, it's in the sub-region, it's in the globe as well, in Europe, in the Americas, and also in the sub-Saharan African region. So everybody else is affected. So in our context, we are saying that we see the economy contracting somewhere in the order of 6 to 7% this year. Okay, depending, of course, if we do not see reinfection rates or cases of infection coming up, because that would then impact the period within which you still reintroduce some of the regulations that are necessary to make sure that the virus is contained. So we have done that assessment. And if you have about a contraction of the economy and say 10 to 15% cut on GDP, on total output of the economy, that affects revenue. So we have anticipated that revenue would possibly also go down in the magnitude of 10%, 12% or so, if depending on or based on what we see at the moment. If this continues, if we see a picture changing for the worse on the health sector, then of course that would have implications on the economy. But we have done that assessment, so we are anticipating that it's possible that we would have about 7 to 10 billion revenue loss as a result of COVID-19. And that of course then would impact on spending, on expenditure. What we anticipated to be the spending levels for the year, definitely we have to relook at that. And it's for that reason that the Ministry of Finance in the country, irrespective of the lockdown conditions, we have not rushed into for the Minister of Finance to table the budget, but we anticipate that the budget will be then tabled still this month, other things being equal, to the middle of the month or so. And that the budget would really take into consideration the effect on the economy, that you have contraction of the economy, you have certain sectors that are hit, and therefore that has direct impact on national revenue, on public revenue, and therefore we anticipate that expenditure or spending would also be relooked. And really the key there is to say that government would ensure that essential services continue. Well, the first thing is to make sure that we have a means of implementation to support measures in the health sector, because priority, and His Excellency the President has always emphasized that priority goes to the health and safety of Namibians with regard to this pandemic. So we'll make sure that there are resources, spending resources, reprioritized into the health sector so that we front load that security and safety of the public. Then secondly, we would then have to look at the economy itself, because we cannot only be caught up in the short-term thinking around COVID-19 without ensuring that the economy has the capacity to rebound after this effect. So we will try to plant some seeds of growth in the economy to support certain sectors of the economy where you have the productive capacity that can generate revenue as well, and to be able to cope with the fiscal implications of the effects of COVID-19. And then last is to ensure that essential services are provided. So essential services in the health sector, which I have talked about, the education sector, once it reopens, we also have to ensure that the services there are supported budget-wise, public spending-wise, so that we do not have too much setbacks and the reversals that we have made in the social sector. We have to make sure that the social safety nets in terms of grants to the elderly, to the vulnerable children, and so on, are supported, because that's really your first line of defense to ensure that your vulnerable part of the population is protected. So we ensure that. But of course, there are needs in ensuring there is public safety and order is supported, the administration of justice is supported. So these essential services and protecting ourselves against the impact of COVID-19 are important for this year's budget. We have then to compromise not to accommodate some of our ambitions that we had in terms of certain development programs. You know, we may have to do away with starting to build a new road or maintaining a new road instead of putting the money in this critical sector. So those are the rebalancing actions that we are looking at in terms of the thinking now and after COVID or post-COVID.
Okay. Mr. Ithindi, last question is on the 750 again. Many people that find themselves outside the scope of getting income, particularly your bartenders and so forth.
Yes.
What would be done for that portion, for those people then, that cannot, as a consequence of the regulations, earn an income, but are still in the informal sector of the economy?
Okay, right. Yeah, no, thank you. I think that is an important consideration, because, I mean, for the bartenders, for example, we know that the regulations at the moment, we said alcohol is the last thing that we need to look at. Yes. And I think there is merit in saying that. But of course, it affects the income lines and earnings of self-employed persons there, or employed persons in that subsector of the economy. So from the emergency income grant, all the bartenders or alcohol selling outlets, if you like, to the extent that they operate in the informal part of the economy, The employers there and the employees, of course, they qualify for the emergency income grant, and they are part and parcel of those who have benefited from the emergency income grant, or those who will benefit if we have not yet processed the applications to date. The second important consideration is that, of course, as we do this, it also opens up opportunities of thinking how best we could reposition ourselves as a country, and as businesses and as individuals. There are lessons to be learned from a crisis like this. Apparently, each crisis actually presents opportunities and so on. So for those operators in the informal sector of the economy, whether it's in the beverages industry or otherwise, if they are registered with Social Security Commission and they are in good standing with Social Security Commission, they of course would benefit from the programs, support programs that the Social Security Commission has rolled out and will roll out. So if they are, and we encourage businesses and individuals, especially employers, we encourage, whether it's in the informal sector of the economy, to register for Social Security and to be in good standing. Because those who are in good standing, for sure, they now stand to, as employers, benefit from the wage subsidy, which the Social Security Commission, together with the government, are rolling out. Actually, that program has started already and it's running. And by the 15th, Social Security Commission would also open the window, or the second component of employment and support program, that of looking at supporting the affected employees, whether it's in the formal sector of the economy. But if the informal sector employees are registered with Social Security Commission and they're in good standing, then they stand to benefit from such program. And it's a good program. Mind you that it extends up to 50% of the wage of an employee, in addition to what is provided to the employer as well as a subsidy. So it's an important consideration. So in short, those that are in the informal sector, they have benefited from 750,
yes,
those who qualify. And if they are registered with Social Security Commission, they stand to benefit as well. So they are not left out entirely. And in the final analysis, to say that an individual who suffered loss of income is either supported by the emergency income grant or by the benefits from the Social Security Commission, depending where the person is standing. That's actually the essence of it.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us on Evening Review.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to further engagements.
That was Mr. Penda Ithindi from the Ministry of Finance. Thank you for tuning in.